Okay, so let's look at profit maximization through marginal revenue equals marginal cost in a table format. So we have our total revenue numbers that we have from our previous table that we looked at and our total cost numbers. And we know that total revenue minus total cost will give us economic profit or loss. Now what we want to do is we want to find total profit maximization by setting our marginal revenue equal to our marginal cost. So we calculate out our marginal revenue and we calculate our marginal cost. Recall that marginal cost we studied previously, and that is simply the change in total cost due to the change in output. So as we produce 1 unit of output, our marginal cost is $90 and our marginal revenue is $131. So our marginal revenue is greater than our marginal cost. We're going to continue to produce. And you can see that as we produce more and more units, our marginal cost initially is a little bit high, it decreases, and then it starts to increase. Now we're going to try to find that point where marginal cost is equal to marginal revenue. So I'm going to go down here to unit number 8. At unit number 8, the cost for unit number 8 is $110. The revenue we get from unit number 8 is $131. So yes, definitely, we want to produce this because we can still get some money off of this production. Unit number 9, marginal cost, the cost to produce that last unit, $130. The revenue from that last unit, $131. So we're still getting $1 of revenue, so we're going to produce it. Unit number 10, it cost us $150 to produce, and we're getting $131 in revenue. So in this case, definitely we do not want to produce unit number 10 because it's costing us more to produce than we are getting in terms of revenue. So if we look at the graph, the optimal output level is here at 9 units. This is a little bit off right here. It should be right over there. So let me just go ahead and draw that in. So we should be right over here at 9 units, and we would be producing 9 units. So you can see at units previous to 9, our marginal revenue is higher. This is our marginal revenue is higher than our marginal cost. So we're going to continue to produce up until this point. If we produce unit number 10, well, our costs are going to be higher than the revenue, and then we are no longer going to produce at that level. And that becomes our profit. Okay, so you have an assignment in your textbook or in your homework that has to do with using data from a purely competitive producer, and you are asked to figure out whether or not this firm should be producing. So let me walk you through how to solve this. So it says, assume the following cost data are for a purely competitive producer. So we have total output, and then we have our average fixed cost, our average variable cost, our average total cost, and our marginal cost. The next part, the question says, at a price of $56, will this firm produce in the short run? If it is preferable to produce, what will be the profit maximizing or loss minimizing output? What economic profit or loss will the firm realize per unit of output? So that's a lot of questions to answer. The first question is, should they produce in the short run if the price is $56? Okay. So what they're telling you, when they tell you that the price is $56 in this type of problem, under perfect competition, that $56 equals your marginal revenue. So what you're going to do is you're going to compare your marginal revenue of $56 per unit to your marginal cost. So here's one of the problems that you have as part of your homework. You need to assume the following cost data are for a purely competitive producer. The first part of the question says, at a product price of $56, will this firm produce in the short run? If it is preferable to produce, what will be the profit maximizing or loss minimizing output? What economic profit or loss will the firm realize per unit of output? So the first thing that we need to do is, number one, understand that the product price of $56 in a perfectly competitive industry means that the marginal revenue is $56. So let's write that down. Marginal revenue is $56. And we're going to do $56 all the way down. And what do we have to do? We have to compare marginal revenue to marginal cost. And the point at which marginal revenue and marginal cost are equal to each other, that is the point at which we are going to be maximizing our profit. So as a reminder, remember, profit maximization, I'm going to put that little formula up here, occurs where marginal revenue equals marginal cost. So let's go through each of these. If we are producing 1 unit of output, and we compare $45 to $56, our marginal revenue is still higher. If we go to our second unit of output, our marginal cost is $40 and our marginal revenue is $56. If we go to 3 units of output, our marginal cost is $35 and our marginal revenue is $56. So our revenue is higher than our cost. So we will continue to produce. If we produce 4 units of output, marginal cost is $30. Our revenue is $56. We continue to produce. If we produce 5 units of output, our marginal cost is $35. Our marginal revenue is $56. If we produce 6 units of output, our marginal revenue is our marginal cost is $40 and our marginal revenue is $56. If we produce 7 units of output, our marginal cost is $45 and our marginal revenue is $56. So in all of these cases right here so far, our marginal cost has been less than our marginal revenue. So we're going to continue to produce. If we produce 8 units of output, our marginal cost is $55 and our marginal revenue is $56. So we are definitely going to continue to produce because we're going to get at least $1 of revenue. Now, if we go to 9 units of output, look what happens. As we go from 8 to 9 units, our marginal cost is now $65. That's much higher than our marginal revenue. Okay, so we will not produce the 9th unit in this example. So at a product price of $56, we will produce 8 units of output. So right here is the level of output that we're going to produce. That will be 8 units of output. Okay. What economic profit or loss will the firm realize per unit? So now what do we have to do? Now we have to pull our formulas. We know that the formula for profit is price minus average total cost. And incidentally, while I'm doing this, I would recommend very strongly that you write all of your formulas down someplace so that you can reference them very, very quickly. I also recommend that you memorize these because that would be very helpful as well. Okay, so now when we produce 8 units, what we need to do is we need to take a look at 8 units, what is our average total cost? Well, 8 units, our average total cost is $48.13. And our price is $56. So we're going to do price minus average total cost. So it's going to be 56 minus 48.13, and we are producing 8 units, and that is going to tell us what our profit is. So that's going to give us a profit of $62.96. Now we also want to make sure that this $56 is higher than our average variable cost, and we see that at 8 units it is. So we are covering our variable cost and our fixed cost. If these two are added together, this gives us our average total cost. So indeed, a price of $56 will give us an economic profit. Then the next question asks you, answer the questions of 4A, assuming the product price is $41. Okay, so now what do you need to do? You need to know that the price went down, and you have to compare the revenue to the cost. And if the price goes to $41, that tells you what the marginal revenue is. And you're going to compare that marginal revenue to the marginal cost. So to do that, we are going to erase all of this, and we're going to compare our marginal cost with our marginal revenue, which this problem now tells us is $41. So we're going to write $41 all the way down and compare. Okay, so let me erase all of this, and let's take a look. Where does marginal revenue equal marginal cost? Now, initially, the marginal cost, the incremental cost as we start, is going to be higher than marginal revenue. But note that as we move from 1 unit to 2 units of production, our marginal cost starts to drop. So we're going to start comparing from unit 1 to unit 2. Our marginal cost is $40, which is less than marginal revenue. So definitely we would produce. As we go from unit 2 to unit 3, our marginal cost is $35. Our marginal revenue is $41. So yes, we're going to produce unit 3. If we go to unit 4, our marginal cost is $30. Our marginal revenue is $41. So yes, we're going to produce there. We go to unit 5, our marginal cost is $35, our marginal revenue is $41, so yes, we're going to produce. We go to unit number 6, our marginal cost is $40, our marginal revenue is $41. We continue to produce. We go to unit number 7. Our marginal cost is 45. Our marginal revenue is 41. And at this stage, we are going to stop and evaluate what has happened. $45 is greater than 41, so we are not going to produce unit number 7. We're going to stop our production at unit number 6. Okay, and so what we have to do now is we have to evaluate what is the situation if we stop at unit number 6. So let's calculate our profit the same way we did before. I'm going to put this in a different color so we keep tabs of, I'm going to put this in purple so we can keep tabs. So our price is $41 and our average total cost when we are producing 6 units of output is $47.50. And we're producing 6 units of output. So we can already tell that this is going to be a loss based on what we talked about before. We also know that we also have to check whether or not we're covering our average variable cost. So we are covering our average variable cost with the price of $41. So we are going to be able to continue to produce. We know that we're going to be operating at a loss. So let's figure out what that loss will be. Okay, and so I get a loss of $39. So should the firm continue to produce? And the answer here is yes. It should continue to produce because the revenue, the marginal revenue is, or the price is still higher than the average variable cost. Remember our rule from our previous discussion, price greater than AVC. You're going to continue to produce because you are covering a portion of your fixed cost. So in this case, at $41, they will continue to produce. Okay. The next question says, what will happen if the price is $32? So we're going to repeat the same process. Okay, we'll repeat the same process. If the price drops to $32, that tells us that the marginal revenue is $32. So how many units should be produced? And should the firm be producing? So we do the same thing. We're going to look at $32 and we're going to compare marginal revenue to marginal cost. Again, startup cost will be a little bit high. We're going to start looking at marginal cost at this point as we go from 3 units to 4 units. Our marginal cost is 30. Our marginal revenue is 32. Should we produce? Yes. Going to unit number 5. Our marginal cost is 35. Our marginal revenue is 32. Should we produce? No. Okay, so we should not produce unit number 5. We can stop right here at unit number 2. Sorry, not at unit number 2, at unit number 4. Will be the level of production. Now, what we have to think about is, does this $32 price cover costs? Okay, so $32 is going to cover well, it's not going to cover average total cost. It's not going to cover average variable cost. So this $32 is not enough to cover any cost. So at a price of $32, this firm will not be producing, and it should essentially shut down. So recall what we discussed in our intuitive approach and the graphs that we looked at. Okay, so let's move on in this problem. This problem continues to say, in the table below, complete the short-run supply schedule for the firms, columns 1 and 2, and indicate the profit or loss incurred at each output. Okay, so you want to jot these down. Okay, we know that at $32, no production. At $39, we're going to produce 6 units. At $56, we're going to produce 8 units. Now remember, we are one small firm, and there's a lot of firms out there. So let's scroll down this problem. So here's the question. For a single firm, so now we're talking about one firm. Okay. Single firm right here, one firm. Is it going to produce at a price of $26? Well, we just saw in our previous example that no, nothing is going to be produced. Is it going to produce at $32? And we decided no, it's not going to be produced. Now what you have to do is you have to go through the rest of these numbers and figure out what is going to be produced. Now we did say at a price of $41 right here, we would be producing 6 units. So that's an answer already there. Then we did say at 56 units, we would be producing 8. At $56, we would be producing 8 units of output. You have to figure out the profit and the loss. So this is not applicable. Okay, $26, we're not operating. $32, we're not operating at all. At $41, we're producing 6. Are we going to have a profit or a loss? So we figured out that we would have a $39 loss. So we're going to have a $39 loss here. Okay. Then we have this column. Now you guys are going to fill in these columns here. We have this fourth column, which is quantity supplied by 1,500 firms. So if this is a single firm, and in a purely competitive market, all firms are pretty much the same, we're going to say that the output from a single firm is going to be the same output for all the rest of the 1,500 firms. So then 8 times 1,500 is 12,000 units that will be produced. Okay, and you guys are going to figure out the rest of this. And this is going to give you your market supply curve. So recall that we talked about that previously. Market supply is the intersection of supply. And we know we have demand. So this is the whole industry or the market. And then we have your company, which is just one little company that has to charge the price that the market sets. So your part of your task then is going to be to go through the same exercise that we just did here and figure out what output will be, figure out profit or loss. Then you are given the total quantity demanded, okay, the total quantity demanded in the market. So you are being asked, again, to figure out the supply curve. They're giving you the demand, and you're going to be asked to find equilibrium price, sorry, my little dots are off, and equilibrium quantity. So once you have figured out this column right here, you're going to take this data and you're going to put quantity supplied. So whatever those numbers are, you're going to fill in these blanks. And you're going to find the equilibrium price and quantity. Okay, so hopefully this is helpful to you. You do need to know this, not only for this class, but for future classes. So just, get familiar with the analytics of it, and hopefully the intuitive approach helped you a little bit as well. Feel free to reach out to me if you have questions.